Dragon Shield sleeves are only $7.99 on flipsidegaming.com right now. And if you use the promo code CGB at checkout, you will save 10% and support the channel at the same time. So remember to use the promo code CGB. Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. And today on the arena, we're going to cover the winning deck list from Grand Prix Memphis. Grand Prix Memphis is one of the first major standard tournaments of the new season. While the SCG circuit normally draws in competitors from specifically the Eastern United States, Grand Prix size events run by channelfireball.com draw in competitors from all around the world. And as such, they normally receive a little bit more press. In this case, though, Wizards has made some interesting changes to remove coverage from Grand Prix events. No video coverage, limited text coverage. I had to work harder than I thought I'd ever have to just to bring you a little bit of information, sifting mostly through Twitter, from the Channel Fireball page, whereas Wizards used to promote this. I don't want to get too much into this controversial topic on the show. I just want to say that, is it esports if nobody's watching? All right, just throwing that out there, but let's talk about the winner and let's talk about the tournament just a little bit. Grand Prix Memphis had 988 players, and the player who rose to the top was Jody Keith. Jody Keith is a player who's been at it for quite a while, many tournaments in the Star City Games Open Series, mostly known for playing the lands deck in Legacy, a deck that literally beats you with almost all lands in the deck. It's a pretty absurd deck. There's not really a standard equivalent. It just can't be done anymore. But in Legacy, it's a really fun deck to watch, and you might want to look up some coverage of that. Maybe check the description of the video. Perhaps I'll find some links for you for that. But he's been at it for a long time, and it's nice to see him starting to make an impact on Standard, because he played this exact same list and made top 8 in the Star City Open in Dallas just a week ago. So this exact list also rose to the top in that tournament, and now with 2 major results under his belt and this major tournament win, Jody Keith has proven that this Rakdos Midrange deck is a deck to be taken at least pretty seriously, at the very least. He is also, well, how do I explain Jody? I can't explain Jody, but I can switch over to a video for you, and we'll sort of set Jody up to explain Jody's self, because I think this video describes him better than I ever could. Let me get this going. Stop it. Set me up. Okay. Technology. Do it, Jody. Take it away. I'm going to crank him up and crank me down for a minute.
How does it feel to be a Grand Prix champion?
Oh, this is unbelievable, man. This is everything I've been playing Magic for so long. And this is what I always wanted, man, was a trophy like this, man. Just come out here and do the thing. And we did it, baby. We out here. We did it. Goon Squad. One love, baby. Everybody had my back, rooting for me. Appreciate everybody support me this whole time, man. I've been playing Magic for a long time. And I can't do it without the people that have been there for me the whole time, man. So this trophy's for everybody. My mom's, go see my mom's before every tournament I go to. If I'm going out of town, can't see my mom's before the day before. This trophy's for her and everybody that I love, everybody that out there that's rooting for me. One love. You don't know what it means.
Oh my God. Yeah, man. Oh, it tears me up. He sees his mom before every tournament. This trophy's for his mom. How freaking sweet is that? So yeah, let Jody sum up Jody. If you want more Jody Keith, he's got a Twitch stream. He is Nola Gold, NOLAGOLD on Twitch, and he has a YouTube channel. I'm going to try to remember to link both of those in the description if you want to hear more from him. But let's get back into talking about this deck. Let's see. Where to start? Well, we kind of start down here. 1-drop removal. This is really good against decks that are running around in the format right now. Mono red, not so much in the pro scene, but on ladder, these are certainly good against mono red, and you also need them against mono blue. That's the big one. You need these for early interaction against mono blue. After that, you've got 4 lava coils, which is one of the best removal spells in the format if there are creatures to remove. But what if there aren't creatures to remove? There's Rixamati Reveler. Discard the cards you don't need, draw new cards. Good stuff. Direfleet Daredevil is a 2-mana 2/1 first striker who exiles something from the opponent's graveyard and recasts it. One of the favorite targets is Thought Erasure. 4 copies because of how many spells are in the format right now. Why not? Against white aggro is where it's the weakest, but even then, having a 2/1 to block those early attackers is really good. First strike is no joke in the format, and nobody knows that as well as Goblin Chain Whirler, who comes in with first strike and sweeps up the little creatures, giving this deck a lot of play against the blue decks that are extremely popular. Then we have Treasure Map. This is sort of a 3-drop because when you play it, it's really nice to also use it the first turn since it has a certain number of turns it needs to be kind of wound up on. You play it as early as possible against control decks just to get out there under counter spells, but against like aggressive decks, it's better to play it as a 3-drop and use it right away. So there's Treasure Map, 4 of them. Really prepared to build up a mana advantage and do some grinding. Then Rekindling Phoenix, a really strong card in the meta as people aren't using as many Vraska's Contempts as they used to. And Lava Coil, not everywhere that it used to be. Exiling a Rekindling Phoenix is not that easy anymore. Karn, the Scion of Urza, just one little Planeswalker to grind with those treasure maps. 3 Siege Gang Commanders. These are really fun when you're bringing them back over and over with the Eldest Reborn and just flinging goblins around, taking control of the game. 2 Eldest Reborns, whole bunch of land. In fact, how many lands are we looking at? Oh yeah, to do that, I have to, hold on, switch the view, click on the thing, and then it'll tell you 25 lands. There's a gate, 18 red sources, and then 5 swamps. Actually, that's counting the dual lands. It's not even right. Whatever, no biggie. So, looking down here, you see Jody Keith runs a Cinder Barons. The Cinder Barons is, I think, there to troll and tilt most of you. Because people are constantly saying, there's a gate deck in the format. You have to run the Guild Gate because if you get a Gatebreaker Ram, you want it to have an extra +1/+1. And they're right. Jody doesn't care. Run Cinder Barons anyway. Take that. Not going to go out there and find a Rakdos Guild Gate? Hell no. 1 swamp, 14 mountains, 4 crypts, 4 summits, and 2 of the ETB tap lands. You still need to make sure that you're chain whirling your opponent on time. All right, we're going to get into the sideboard guide. I'm going to set up the deck for a few individual matchups and talk about what goes in and what goes out. As I begin the sideboard guide, I just want to say in kind of a disclaimer type way, I wasn't able to watch coverage. Thank you, Wizards. And I wasn't able to interview or talk to Jody about his sideboarding decisions, and I wasn't able to find a sideboard guide. So these are my impressions of how I would sideboard for the matchups in the dark. First of all, against mono blue aggro, wherever you see this little critter trying to get some Curious Obsession on, what do you cut? The main thing that you do is I cut anything that isn't killing something and is a little bit anything that might be on the expensive side. So what comes up for me for sure in that vein is Karn. The other cards I cut are treasure maps. Now the main deck is already pretty well, treasure map's just a bit slow, and Karn is just begging to be spell pierced. But the main deck is already set up pretty well for this matchup, so it doesn't take a lot of cards. I bring in all the duresses to poke holes in their dive downs and spell pierces so that I can resolve my key cards. Also, taking away an essence capture so you can have a Rekindling Phoenix is a pretty big impact on the game. Watch out for Merfolk Trickster. That card lives up to its name with some tricky shenanigans. Then I bring in the Shivan Fire just to have another way to kill a cheap creature that's trying to get curious up in here as quickly as possible. And that's a pretty straightforward sideboarding plan. Creatures are normally harder for that deck to counter and kill, and after sideboarding, I don't feel like they have that many more tricks, except maybe some interaction like Deep Freeze that they might play on your Rekindling Phoenix. That's also something you can hit with Duress, so that's a pretty good plan. Just make sure that they're not drawing very many cards regularly, and you'll be just fine. Direfleet Daredevil's best targets here are usually Chart a Course. The other spells like Dive Down and things like that and Spell Pierce, those instant speed effects don't do much work for you, but Chart a Course can help you find the right cards. Don't be afraid to play this and take an Opt though, and it's good for holding back Merfolk Tricksters who want to get frisky after their initial trigger is no longer available. The next deck that we'll talk about is Sultai Midrange or Golgari Midrange, where you see Wildgrowth Walker with Jade Light Ranger and then building up into Hydroid Crassus Vivian Reeds, things of that nature. So this is what you call a grindy matchup, where the resources are just trading off left and right, the fur is flying fast and furious, and everything's dying and things are coming back and people are drawing cards left and right, just trying to get ahead. For this matchup, I like to take out the Rixmati Revelers. While these seem like pretty good grinding cards, one of their big jobs in game one is to discard spells that don't do much, like say Lava Coil against a control deck, to get new cards. And in this matchup, after sideboarding, we have basically the cards that we need ready to go. And this card, it's really hard to get Spectacle because the ground just gets full of nonsense. So I don't know, maybe it's been my experience, but I cut these cards for this matchup because I very rarely can do the draw 3 part. It just doesn't happen very often. The rest of the sideboard also doesn't need, you don't need too many changes. So what I bring in to replace Rixmati Reveler, I bring in the Shivan Fire because there's no lack of targets for it. I bring in the Status Statue so that we can do the Death Touch combo on Chain Whirler as sort of this big finish. I bring in the Fight with Fire because kicking it and just blowing the opponent out for 10 is a really good play, and in the absence of that, sometimes you need to kill a Crassus. And I bring in the Angrath to steal a Crassus and hit my opponent with it. So aside from that, the rest of the deck is pretty grindy on its own. The main thing that you want to do is exhaust their Vraska's Contempts if you can with your Planeswalkers. Try to get in some hits with Rekindling Phoenix, and try to get Eldest Reborn ticking. If you can get something good dead with it and keep it from getting blown up by a Vivian Reed, getting back just about anything with this is really huge for the matchup. Siege Gang Commander also, throwing goblins at the face and then getting it back with Eldest Reborn is usually a good path in this deck. I haven't been bringing in Duress very often against the Sultai Midrange deck, as long as it's running so much of the Crassus plan, but I'm willing to be wrong on this. I'm just not sure what I would take out. Now, Duress has some big hits in the matchup, mainly Finality, that is a really big hit, and the other big one is Vivian Reed. So, Vraska's Contempt also. If you can get rid of a Vraska's Contempt, then you have access to it via Daredevil. So the idea of keeping Duress out, that there aren't that many things to hit, is sort of the same idea that we could cut some Direfleet Daredevils. So maybe this should be a mix. Maybe we should have 2 Duress and 2 Direfleet Daredevils. I'm willing to work on that a little bit and try to see how that would play. But keep an open mind. Figure out how many spells your opponent is running and how much impact they're having on you, and decide whether or not you want a mix of Duress and Direfleet Daredevil or not. Against Izzet Drakes. So this matchup requires just a little bit less transformation. I do like the Duress coming in here to poke a hole in their Spell Pierce and Dive Down Protect My Drake plan, which can be very frustrating for you. It also, you have to really take apart that plan if Niv Mizzet joins the team, which probably Niv Mizzet is coming in after sideboard. You should bank on that. And your best answer to Niv Mizzet is Eldest Reborn, but we also keep a Fight with Fire for that battle. You have to be able to Duress away, not the Niv Mizzet itself, but the Dive Down and cards that would, and Spell Pierce, the cards that would protect Niv Mizzet. Or Niv will kill you very quickly. The Shivan Fire comes in because it can be kicked to take out a Drake-sized thing. I would expect the Drake deck to take out Terramander, a flying 1/1, because of Goblin Chain Whirler, but keep an eye on that. Whether or not you can trim your Chain Whirlers to bring back in more grindy, like Rixmati Revelers, depends on whether or not they cut the Terramander, and I wouldn't want to cut Chain Whirler until I went a game without seeing Terramander. from the opponent. Status Statue can, of course, Plague Wind the Chain Whirler, which is pretty awesome. And the statue part can straight up kill a Drake, so let's keep that around. By the way, how do you cast the statue part? Well, the way that you do that is with a treasure from the treasure map. Not the easiest, but hey, it's a thing. It could happen. All right, Lava Coil, of course, is quality against them. Direfleet Daredevil should have lots of things in the graveyard to exile and use against them, so that's good. Keep the treasure maps. You need to be able to grind with them and have the right cards in the right moments. Fight with Fire kills Drakes. Rekindling Phoenix gets in the way of Drakes, which is pretty freaking awesome, and you're going to want to draw many of these in the matchup. Angrath gets to stay. Stealing an Enigma Drake and then sacrificing it, or stealing a grown-up Pteramander are both really good swings. And on its own, it can plus to take out their hand, so Angrath makes the cut. And Siege Gang commanders flinging goblins at these things is often a good way to keep the battlefield completely clear for you. If their Drakes are dead, they can't really be winning. And in the post-board games, if their Niv can't stay on the field, they also can't really be winning. So those are the things to keep an eye on with this deck. Against this guy, mono white, or white splashing blue, white splashing red, whatever. Against the almost all white decks, the question you should ask yourself when preparing your sideboard is very simple. Does it kill a creature? If a creature ends up dead because of the spell, it is probably the spell for you in this matchup. So in comes Shivan Fire, in comes Status Statue, everything that kills stuff stays. In comes Fiery Cannonade, just to get wide with them. And what goes out, in comes the Fight with Fire as well. What goes out are some of the more expensive cards that take too long. Eldest Reborn does kill a creature, but it's a creature of the opponent's choice. So giving up an Afterlife creature, giving up a Hunted Witness, you're not really accomplishing enough there. The Karn is a bit slow and very hard to protect. Angrath doesn't come in for the same reason. And I cut 2 Direfleet Daredevils. Now, Direfleet Daredevil in this matchup will usually not get a spell ever, but it does provide this nice 2-mana, 2/1 first strike body that is hard for many of the creatures to attack around. It can't, of course, take on an Adanto Vanguard, but it can hold off Tithe Takers. It can hold off the Sky Marcher Aspirants until they ascend. The Knights from History of Benalia, those get held off. It may even be better than Rixmati Reveler, but the thing that I like about Reveler is when your draw is awkward and you need to stay on curve, it can usually help you do it. However, I'm also keeping Treasure Map because I need a way to get ahead and build our board in the late game, or else they will just keep drawing powerful spells and cranking out tokens with Adanto's First Fort. So we need a way to get ahead in the game. I have Treasure Map in here. I wouldn't be surprised if the right move is to cut this down to 3 or 2 Treasure Maps and play 4 Direfleet Daredevils just to have that 2/1 body, get on the board, and hold off the opponent. Against Esper Control or Jeskai or whatever is using the Hero of Dominaria as the main win con, this is the sideboarding attack I would use. And this is a very transformational type of sideboard. We really load up on some new win cons and a lot of card advantage. So starting off with Duress down here at the end, we want to be able to hit our opponent's hand early and often. And with Carnage in the mix, we keep that around because we can hit their hand again later. The 2-drops, we can cut some Rixmati Revelers, and because we move Treasure Map down to our 2-drop spot basically in the curve, we always want to be getting this out on 2. And the body here and the Rummage doesn't help as much. It's again very hard to get Spectacle against them with all of their control cards. And we have taken out most of the cards we'd need to discard in game 1. So the Reveler can take a break, but Direfleet Daredevil is probably not a 2-drop ever. It's probably much more like a 4-drop, although there are times where you'll want to do this. But hitting Thought Erasure is a pretty big game. Legion Warboss backed up by some Duress to let it do some work is a really strong play, and is a new win con, much better than the Goblin Chain Whirlers that we replace. And I keep Fight with Fire as well as 2 shocks for the Thief of Sanity. So the big trick in best of 3 is that these control decks are bringing in the Thief of Sanity. And if you can't answer it, the card can run away with a game, as you may have experienced many times in Arena. So even though you're playing against a control deck, it makes a lot of sense to cut a lot of your removal, but not all of it. So I like to keep 2 shocks because shock can also kill a Teferi. If a Teferi comes down in minuses on, say, a Rekindling Phoenix, you may just need to shock a Teferi. And I keep Fight with Fire because it can kill the Thief of Sandy, but late game can also go 10 to the face. It can also kill a Lyra, which is another card that might just come in, Lyra Dawnbringer, the 5/5 Baneslayer Angel. Also in the mix is Theater of Horrors, more card advantage, more grindy, difficult to deal with permanents. Although this is better against decks without Mortify, you may as well bring it in regardless of that, because if they have Mortify, you don't want that to hit your Eldest Reborn either, so you need some good targets for it. I keep Rekindling Phoenix in against the Esper list. If the deck is heavier on white removal with cards like Seal Away, this is probably not a good card to keep in, but Esper lists have been trimming that exile removal lately. They don't run that many Vraska's Contempts, and this card is good against Kaya's Wrath, so keep that in mind. And then, of course, we have the Planeswalker tag team, and we have Eldest Reborn to keep them coming back, and the Siege Gangs to just provide a huge amount of damage and kind of repair our board state from a board wipe. So this is how I would try sideboarding for the control matchups. All right, I think that covers sideboarding for the major matchups in best of 3 standard. If you run into a matchup that was not covered, just try to keep in mind the primary role of each of the cards in the deck, as we've talked about, and sideboard in such a way that it emphasizes the cards that are strong for the matchup and take out the cards that are weak for the matchup. It's good general advice. Let's get into some games, play a match, and see how this awesome new deck from Jody Keith does. All right, looking at this opening hand, we have 2 Rixmati Revelers and Lava Coil. They can try to help fix our hand, which is pretty slow, and probably discard one of these Eldest Reborns, perhaps both if we can't find a black source. So I'll keep the hand and we'll see where it goes. We are playing against Nummy, one of the more popular Magic the Gathering streamers. I didn't set this up. We simply got paired against him in the queues. Looks like he's on that Mythic grind as well. And it looks like he's into some gate shenanigans. So right away, I'm thinking that my Lava Coils will not be very good, but my Eldest Reborns might be important if the Gatebreaker Ram is in there. I also don't know if Goblin Chain Whirler will be any good at all. It probably will have nothing to hit, but I'm not sure what Lava Coil will hit. I guess we don't know enough about if our opponent is just going to slam a Gatebreaker Ram yet. Still, I think that discarding a Lava Coil and keeping the threats is the better move for now. And it looks like Mana Trouble may be on the horizon for us. We're relying on the top of the deck from here. Gruul Guildgate, say go. All right, let's send in the Reveler. I'd say that we're at a very big disadvantage against the Gate deck for game 1 for certain, as the deck is simply a mid-range killer. All right, what's our discard? I feel like another Lava Coil would be wise, but man, do we need to hit this land drop, or even like being behind in this matchup. Oh my goodness, that's brutal. That is brutal. And there's some land, and there's some land, and, well, that's a very late Cinder Barrens. If we had had that last turn, things could have been much more interesting, I think. All right, land go. There is a giant Crassus. Let the pain begin. X equals 6. Mercy. All right. Well, the opponent saw me discard 2 Lava Coils. They might think I have another, so I'm going to try some bluff damage. But, of course, I don't actually have it. This is just a Hail Mary because I don't think that there's any good way for me to win the game. Just trying to decide what to discard here. I don't think that there's much point to any of it, to be honest. But I guess I'll drop off the Chain Whirler. We did hit a land, so maybe next turn we can draw another land if our opponent doesn't play another monster of some kind. The Eldest Reborn can take out the Crassus, but I have a feeling that the opponent has plenty more things to do to us. Plaza of Harmony to gain 3 life. Growth Spiral to have more gates, I'm sure. Or a basic island. Nexus of Fate to take another turn. That's probably good. 6 points on the nose. And another turn for our opponent. And another giant Hydroid Crassus. Charming. Seems good. So we saw Nexus, but we didn't see Wilderness Reclamation. The Nexus decks are basically a horrific matchup for this deck. I don't know how they're supposed to survive. But let's Carnage our opponent. Get a look at a few more cards from their deck. Alright, and we'll move on to game number 2. Alright, well, I think if we're going to pull this off somehow, it has to start with Duress, Legion Warboss, and just putting a ton of pressure on them. And then in order to grind, possibly cards like Theater of Horrors and Angrath can help. The status statue thing, I guess I'd have to flip a treasure map to use the other side of it. Also, the Death Touch, the opponent showed that they were willing to call bluff when we attacked in with our Revelers. We can definitely count out cards like Lava Coil. The opponent's creatures are going to be too fast too quickly, same with Shock. The Goblin Chain Whirler itself is pretty weak for the matchup, that's for sure. So I'm thinking about cutting the Chain Whirlers. Rekindling Phoenix is decent against Gates Ablaze, but there's not much we can do against a Nexus combo when it starts going off. But yeah, I think that cutting the Chain Whirlers makes a ton of sense. And what is sort of the last card? Treasure Map is pretty slow, so is Theater of Horrors, but we just have to hope our opponent can't get there and that we can disrupt their hand enough. So I think I'm going to cut one of the Revelers now, and we'll try it from there. It's not good. I don't like anything about it. This is definitely the worst matchup we could have walked into. And that is not a hand we can work with. And this is slow, and I don't like it either. I'm going to bottom the Phoenix too, because another 4-drop is not what the hand needs. But we drew both of our ETB tapped lands. The Status Statue, which is kind of a pretty conditional card that you don't really want in this spot, so I'm going to discard it. And a War Boss. Oh man. So opt from the Nummy. Nummy on a pretty blue heavy Nexus of Gates build. No duresses from us, no hand disruption of any kind, but our opponent missed a land drop, and whoa. So I think we try to take away Gates Ablaze. The opponent has a lot of cards in their hand, so let's get a look at what we're working with. 2 negates, a Guild Summit, a Circuitous Root, 2 Gatebreaker Rams, and a Carnage Tyrant. So the full transformational sideboard hits us pretty hard here. I guess we need our opponent to miss their land drop. And if I take away the Guild Summit, they have nothing to do when the War Boss comes to town, except for this Ram, which is what, a 5/5 Vigilance kill you? I don't think I can win. Pretty sure I'm just dead to the Rams now. But maybe we can draw land, play Karn. Karn can get cooking. Never mind. So I suppose the best play here is to duress rather than run my Goblin into a beating. I'll take the Root away. And no attacks. just outclassed on every angle here. A late land off the top. Let's try for a Scion of Urza.
But who may regret that choice?
And your turn. So, like, if we had lava coils in the deck, it still wouldn't have helped against the Rams. So, what would have? Like I said, the matchup is basically unplayable. So, I'm not even going to block here. I'll just die. It's... like I said, it is what it is. Even great decks have bad matchups. Okay, we've got 2 Revelers to try to mix up our hand. We've got Chain Whirler and Lava Coil. Let's try it out. Let's hope this opponent plays some creatures that aren't Gatebreaker Rams. They have mulligan to 6. And kept their top card, so we should expect them to have a reasonable draw. And it looks like we get mono white. Alright, Chain Whirler, you have a job to do. So, I'm not sure what I want to revel away, but I know that this card is really good early in the game against them, just to keep their creatures from attacking me. Tide Taker is here. So, I think what I like is lava coiling the Tide Taker because of the afterlife, but holding this for a Benelish Marshal makes a lot of sense too. The real question is, when is the right time to Chain Whirl the opponent? And we don't want to risk a Venerated Loxodon coming down. Let's start with an attack. Okay, yeah, I'm going to Chain Whirl now and just try to keep my opponent off Venerated Loxodons, Benelish Marshals, things like that. Chain Whirler definitely got some... it's a pretty good exchange. There is the Marshal. Let's go ahead and hit this with a coil. It's probably the best target for the coil. Get in there. Now, I like playing the Blood Crypt, paying 2 life, and playing the Reveler. And we'll Revel away this Guild Gate. And we'll find basically other Guild Gate. Perfect. The world works in funny ways, my friends. So, our opponent needs something like a History of Benalia to get back in this. There's a Sky Marcher, there's a Tide Taker. I don't think they have a Venerated Loxodon. It would have been played there. So what is their last card? It might be a land. If it were a Conclave Tribunal, would we have seen it there? I think so. They're far enough behind that I think they'd have to play it. If it were a History, we'd see it. It might be an Unbreakable formation. That's the other card it could be. All right. And the opponent's going to scoop it up. So I think what I'd do there is probably attack in with my first strikers. And then do the Spectacle on the Reveler. So, the opponent does not want to play this matchup. Apparently mono white despises it. Our opponent's conceded before we get to do our sideboard game. I'll take the rank. Let's move along. We'll try this hand. We've got 2 lava coils. If we're against a creature deck, we should be alright. So let's see what happens. Red mana. Alright. I'm going to play a tapped Blood Crypt. Mountain, go. Maybe we're in the mirror? Regardless, I can definitely kick back and wait for something to happen. That is a Chain Whirler. This is a Lava Coil. Although I'd prefer to wait and Eldest Reborn that thing, but it is what it is. Ah, Steamkin. It is mono red. Excellent. I really, really wanted a land there. But I suppose another Lava Coil will have to do. And I'm still just holding the Daredevils. If I put one out there, it will get bolted. I'd rather have every Daredevil that comes out work with another Lightning Bolt of some kind. So here's a shock and a light up the stage. revealing 2 more creatures. I could steal my opponent's shock here and shock them, but that's about it. Let's play the treasure map and get that cooking. Happy to be a control mage in this situation. Here comes the Steamkin. The opponent can't also play the Chain Whirler, which is awesome. And we're going to take 2. Yep, we're going to take 2. All right, let's map up. Yeah, land is good. Don't need the upkeep stop now. So now what I can do is Direfleet Daredevil. Get me the shock. This even shrinks the Lava Runner, at least for a moment. And shock away your Steamkin. And that's what we're looking to do over and over. 2 for 1, 2 for 1, 2 for 1. Till the red deck can't be the red deck anymore. Oh my goodness, is that the 3rd one? It is. It's the 3rd Steamkin. Now I need a way to kill it. That's awkward. I suppose that might do it. Let's find out. If the opponent plays an instant speed effect, the Direfleet Daredevil can take it from the graveyard and use it. So this is as good a find as any. All right. Love it. I think I'm even going to get a wee bit aggressive. Just a little. Getting confident. Let's make some treasure and say go. Opponent with a handful of creatures. That is becoming very clear. And a Chain Whirler will kill off one of the Daredevils. Lava Coil off the top can deal with the Chain Whirler. But I'd like a Chain Whirler in the graveyard as something good to get back with Eldest Reborn, so I think we will Eldest Reborn first. The opponent will sacrifice the little critter. And I don't really want to sacrifice a treasure to Lava Coil. Sort of got this in the bag. I'd rather have the card advantage. Alright, so we'll just say go. I did it then because if I drew a land, I could play it. Here comes Frenzy. That's the one thing that can get us. That's the one thing that can get us here. Discard a card, please. All right, how many Chain Whirlers? 2 Chain Whirlers. And whatever's in the hand can't be that good, but it's not land. It's probably multiple Frenzies. I think I want the other Eldest Reborn at this stage. And then we can draw a card. We could also Daredevil kill the Chain Whirler, but I think getting the other Eldest Reborn ticking so that we start bringing back. Although I could play Siege Gang, and if it dies, get it back with this Eldest Reborn, because that's happening next turn. And that's a pretty good combination. But I think I do just want, like, this is a good hit for this Eldest Reborn, so I think I just want this hit. We also have plenty of cards, but I'm still going to draw more. Okay, and I'll leave you on defense just to absorb some damage from the opponent. Outgrinding a Frenzy is hard, but we're set up pretty well, and the opponent hits 2 lands in a row, of course. So first the opponent will discard a card, then we'll choose a creature. I guess that didn't work the way I thought it would. Awkward. Runaway Steamkin looks like it would be really great with this hand, though. And getting it to a 4/4, that can be pretty huge. Yeah. I guess I stacked those wrong. I need more practice doing that. All right. So how do we play lots of stuff? There's still 1 Lightning Strike and 1 Light Up the Stage down there. We want to grow our Steamkin. We have access to 7 mana. I think the best thing that we can do is attack with Chain Whirler, Daredevil, Light Up the Stage, and probably Phoenix. And if I'm not going to draw the card anyway... Oh wait, I'm probably... Why did it do that? It burned my mana because I didn't hit the... But then why didn't I get a chance to take it back? Freaking magic. All right. That was kind of a weird little glitch we had. So I was supposed to hit the button for first strike. I accept that. It's a mistake everybody makes over and over and over again. But usually I get a chance to hit Z to correct it. And I didn't have a chance that time. And I don't know why. All right. So we hit some cards. Let's play this one. Make this a 4/4 by playing the Reveler. Discarding what? Another Daredevil because there isn't much in the yard? I guess I can discard the Siege Gang Commander and get it back for free next turn, which is pretty hype. And then we could play a Phoenix right here. Ooh, that's pretty good. Yep. My turn to play with Steamkins. I don't get to very often, so having an exciting time. The opponent, no thank you. I think they just land. I think they just hit 4 lands in a row with a Frenzy, which is tilt. All right, mono red. Mono red we like Duress because they do rely on their spells a lot. We also like, well, Cannonade. I didn't see any Pirates. I didn't see any Fanatical Firebrands, so I'm going to grab that because they might also bring in War Boss. Is Fight with Fire a good card against them? I don't expect the games to go that long. Karn's very hard to defend, so that can come out. Rekindling Phoenix might need to come out because of Lava Coil. I do think they'll sideboard in the Lava Coils because they saw the Phoenix, and I think they would anyway. I think that Eldest Reborn's probably too slow, but Treasure Map's very slow. So cutting Treasure Map makes a lot of sense to me, and I'll trim some Rekindling Phoenix as well. Maybe I just put in Theater of Horrors as my card advantage piece because they can't interact with it in any way. Still, it's really slow. It's not really what you want to do turn 3. It's even slower than Treasure Map. I think I'd be better off keeping more Treasure Maps. But I'll try it like this. There's still plenty of card advantage in the form of a body, Rixmati Reveler. And in this game, like Spectacle, they usually leave themselves pretty open to it often. Plus you're using Carnage and Carnival. Plus you have Chain Whirler. So let's go for it. This hand is unkeepable. I'll be mulliganing it as soon as I get the button. I will try this one, but I do not need yet another land. And turn 1, no creature, double Cannonade. Let's hope it's decent here in the matchup. Pyromancer, okay. Daredevil, let's play the Reveler. And what am I dropping off? I think I'm dropping off a land because right now my main concern is flooding, and I'm glad I did. Yep, shock you down, pyro your face, light up the stage. Everything according to plan. Another light up the stage and a lava coil. Well, I can strand those. I just have to not take damage. So I guess I'll wait and see if my opponent plays like a lava runner. But my plan is going to be to Cannonade. So let's try to keep our opponent from attacking us down. This is not the way I saw the games going, with my 3-mana removal being my first play of usefulness. But it is what it is. And there goes a lava coil. Alright, so we saw the lava coil. It just got exiled. I think it's safe to bet our opponent has another one. They're going to lightning strike my face, which I think is fine. So I don't think I want to play a Daredevil here. I think I just want to say go. I think if I play another Phoenix, it will get lava coiled immediately. And maybe I can draw that lava coil on my Daredevil because they'll get frustrated that it's sitting in their hand. Okay, here's a wizard. let's go ahead and eliminate that once we're in the attack step. Because if our opponent had many of those, we would have seen them. And again, keep them off that spectacle. There's a lightning strike. There's another light up the stage. And now Wizard's Lightning on the battlefield. Well, I guess it uses up all their mana if they want to play this land, play the Wizard's Lightning, and Lava Coil my Phoenix next turn. And if I play the Daredevil, they'll just kill the Daredevil. I'm probably going to Daredevil light up the stage at some point. But, yeah, let's just put the Phoenix down. I don't want to take much more to my face anyway, so if my opponent needs to double bolt this Phoenix, that's okay too. Steamkin. Interesting. Okay, they can't get rid of the Phoenix. That's good. That's very good. Now we can... Hold on. Well, either way, I can get rid of the Steamkin. But do I want to light up the stage first? Because there's a shock down here too, right? Yeah, so I can Daredevil light up the stage, and if I don't get another way to kill the Steamkin, I can Daredevil shock. So let's attack first and get Spectacle. Here's light up the stage. We do hit a Lava Coil, and we hit a Duress as well, which is very nice. So we can Lava Coil the Runaway Steamkin, play the land, and Duress the opponent, and hit their Experimental Frenzy. Oh man, they have another one. That's a tilt. That's a tilt. Let's see if Frenzy saves them here. Ooh, they have a Lightning Strike too. All right, this is gonna be very scary. I think I need to do another light up the stage, but let's see. If we attack for 6, put our opponent at 10, then we can kill them next turn by lightning striking them here and chain whirling. So they're on lethal. They're basically on lethal watch. So I think we'll just take the shorter lethal rather than card advantage. The time for card advantage has passed. So Daredevil for... I guess I can't do a Wizard's Lightning. I have to do a Lightning Strike. So let's go ahead and drop the Chain Whirler. I could shock them to 7. Then it would be very hard for them to get through. I think that's probably wise. Or I could still Spectacle. Are 2 cards probably worth more damage than that? That's a tough call. I think I'll go with the light up the stage. Man, I talked myself out of this and into that, but I think I'll go for lighting up the stage here. Because the 2 cards should be worth more damage than 2. Not those 2 cards, though. That's pretty bad. All right, land. And it's a bad Frenzy. We've got it. What we can learn here today, Frenzy, not always good. Well, after some really rough matchups, we got back into Diamond 2. That's nice to see. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you'll try out Jody Keith's deck. You should also give him a follow on Twitch. Consider subscribing on YouTube if you like his personal style. And I hope that you've enjoyed this look into the pro scene with less coverage on GPs and events like that. I think it's up to YouTubers and Twitch streamers to fill in that void, and I'm going to try to bring you the very best, both the top finishers and the unique decks from the major tournaments, even more going forward. Also, let me know in the comments what you liked. Did you enjoy the sideboard guide? Did you enjoy the player profile? What worked for you? And also, you can always tell me your impressions of the deck. Remember to hit like, remember to subscribe to the channel. It's totally free here on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Mana necklaces have arrived at hauntedflower.com. These necklaces are a great way to show your favorite MTG colors. Remember to use the promo code CGB at checkout to save 10%. That is promo code CGB on hauntedflower.com.